I was given a decision to make, which was we've got one contract at the England 15 side, but if you take it, you can't do the Olympics.
Ellie Kildunne, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to Forbes.
Thank you very much.
So you have had an insane last 12 months. You were a 2025 World Rugby Champion, named BBC's Sports Personality of the Year runner-up, received an MBE in the King's New Year's Honor for your contributions to rugby, and that's coming off of, in 2024, being named the World Women's Rugby Player of the Year. What has the last 12 months felt like from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, hearing them all, like all the accolades read out is, I mean, I don't get much time to sit and reflect and, really just digest everything that has happened, because I still think that the best is yet to come. So I don't really want to accept all that's happened. But it's been a really crazy, not just 12 months, but 2, 3 years, both on and off the field, with a lot of changes, a lot of growth and learnings as well. And I think it's something that when I started playing rugby, I never knew would happen. I didn't think it was a possibility for all these things to happen. And obviously I just started for the love of scoring tries and running around people. And that still definitely remains. But as all of this has happened, it's just really stood out to me that what I'm doing is bigger than what I could have ever imagined. I can inspire so many more people, and I can really make change with what I'm doing as well, which is quite a scary place to be in, because you've got to obviously try and get it right. But also it's something that I'm very proud of. Really proud of, the teams that I'm part of and the people that have supported me on the way, because I wouldn't, like I said, I play the rugby, and I get the advice from elsewhere. But it's something that I wouldn't change for the world as well. I love learning every single day.
You mentioned there too, like kind of this like pressure you're feeling, but also, like I mentioned at the beginning, like these accolades that are now kind of coming your way, the recognition that both you and women's rugby and women's sports in general are really starting to generate over the past couple of years. What would you say has been your proudest moment within kind of this like growth that's happened for you in your industry?
I'd probably say the so winning the World Cup, obviously. Everyone's going to say that's the proudest moment, but the thing that made it so special was how I felt within the team, and how the culture was the best culture I've ever been part of. Winning the World Cup wouldn't have meant as much if I couldn't look around my team and feel the way that I do and I did on the day that it happened. And that hasn't happened overnight. That takes a lot of time. I think it takes a lot of mistakes. And as part of the Red Roses, we have really nailed down on our culture, and that's just understanding people, trusting people, and just working on our bonds. And yeah, that has taken a bit of time, and there has been moments that it probably hasn't been right. But by the time we got to the World Cup final, even during the World Cup, when the whistle went and obviously we found out we won, it felt like I was part of the crowd, feeling so proud and happy for the players on the pitch, like removing myself from that because of the love that I have for the girls. So it doesn't matter all of the accolades that you've got. Obviously, there's some really, really proud moments within that, but something really internal for me was having the people around me that I do, and knowing that they care for me as much as I care for them.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so important to have that like support system around you, especially as you guys are kind of forging a new path through women's sports. You've been playing for the national team in England for almost 10 years now. What would you say has been the biggest change in the industry over this time that you've been playing?
Yeah, you make me sound old. So, yeah, so much has changed. So much has changed, and so quickly as well. I remember the first time that I played for England, I was 17, 18 years old, and it was the biggest crowd I've ever played in front of, and I think it was about 2,000 people. And now, we're playing in front of 80 plus thousand people. So that's an obvious change that I think if you was to watch it on TV, you'd see. But also for me, like the investment into the game. So that might be professionalising the game, especially here in England. I know that other countries have still got to find that investment and professionalise in other countries, but for us in England, we're very fortunate that that investment has been done, and being able to have it as your main job and not have to focus on, I don't know, a nine to five at a shop and then come to training has really benefited us because we can just fully commit on being the best player that we can be. But then also in the past couple of years, so something a little bit more recently, is how brands have come on and into the game, and it's not just been a tick box to have a female player. So it's gone from feeling like a tick box as, you know, as a player and being part of these, to these brands seeing the women's game as an opportunity and taking the leap to really do something different to what they've done before. And the reason that I'm so happy about that is for years I've been banging the drum that the men's game and the women's game are different, right? I mean, there's the obvious reason that it's a male and a female, but the way that the game's played is very different as well. Similar ball. Obviously, it's the same ball, same rules, but there's so many differences. And I've always said that you need to market it different because otherwise you'll try to get the same fans who are at one game and they might not come to another game. Just reach out to different people. So being involved with these brands and being able to talk to them, hear their ideas, also like share my ideas as well. I think we've got to a place that there's certain companies that have really led by example, and I think this is genuinely just the start of where the women's game could go and where brands could see opportunity in female sport, because it's kind of on that trajectory that it's not going to go down. And I love my creative side coming out and being able to think outside the box with that as well. But yeah, there's loads of changes that have happened. I think there's still a little way to go. I'm going to be honest, and you know that's like what I said. You know, the game needs to be professionalised all countries. I think at the Premiership level, it needs to be professionalised as well, and that's just for the game to grow even further and give girls opportunities to be the best versions of themselves on the pitch. But the way it's gone in the past 10 years is, I mean, I could go on forever about all the different things that have grown, but it's at such a speed that you've sometimes got to sit back and reflect to really understand it and appreciate it.
I love your point though about marketing it differently for the men's side, the women's side, and different sports too, because I think we're seeing it in the US a lot that for a while there was this conversation around like, well, there just like aren't that many women's sports fans. Like it's really the guys that are the sports fans, which as an athlete growing up, as a sports fan myself, I've always been so confused by that because I'm like, no, I want to go to the games, but I don't want to go to the games when that's the experience necessarily. So I think that, you know, even with like NIL and college athletes getting to like make money in the US and having so many women kind of lead the charge on that totally proves your point of like there is such a market here. We just have to find a way to like bring them into the fold and share their stories and work with them in ways that make the most sense for them and their fan bases.
Exactly that.
We're going to get into your brand partnerships and all you're doing on kind of like the commercial side. First, I want to go back a little bit. So you started playing rugby when you were 6 years old. Can you give me a little bit of an insight into like what your childhood was like? Because to our point, at that point in our lives, I'm around your age, like the future wasn't I can be a professional athlete as a woman. So what was your kind of mindset coming into the sport?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I just played this sport because I loved it, and I think that's the same for a lot of children around the age of 6 or 7. You want to be involved with people outside, playing outside with your friends and your neighbours, and you know when you go to school, you want to be outside. You don't want to be in the classroom. So I was always that type of person. Where I grew up was quite rural, so spent a lot of time playing outside. And two of my neighbours are just two boys, so they had already been going to rugby training, and they were just going to go down to the next session. So me being me, I was like, "Oh, can I come? Because I want to carry on playing outside with you." And I never saw any barriers growing up. I think that as a child, you don't naively you don't see anything. You know, it didn't bother me that I was the only girl there and no one looked at me. It didn't bother me that the boys would turn around and laugh at the girl that was playing, or I didn't have a changing room to get changed in, so I had to get changed in the car with my dad holding the towel up. None of that felt like a barrier to me. Now as I'm older, obviously I wouldn't want anybody to feel like they can't be part of a team or they shouldn't be part of a team just because of the way that they look or where they've come from. Um, but as a child, it's purely for the love of the sport, and I loved running rings around people. It actually made it sweeter, the fact that the boys were like, "Oh, who's that girl?" And then at the end of the game, I'd become the player of the match, and scored all the tries. So I definitely think that was probably something that had driven me, even though I didn't know that it was at the time. But I just loved it. I played a lot of sports. I played football. I did quite a bit of running. Anything that I could do, I would do. And I didn't ever watch rugby. I didn't grow up in a rugby household. I actually watched a lot of football or soccer for
Mhm.
you guys in America. But I watched a lot of football, and I didn't have the female representation in team sports. Obviously, individual sports. Um, Jessica Ennis was someone that I really looked up to, but that's because she had a stage for it. She had that visibility with the Olympics that came around as well. But in the women's game, both in football and rugby, there wasn't that visibility or that accessibility for me to even know that it was something. So yeah, I didn't aspire, I wasn't inspired by any individual in that space already. I just knew I liked it and I knew that I was quite good at it. Um, and even when England women won the World Cup in 2014, I didn't even watch that. I didn't even know it was a thing. And I was 13, 14 by then, so you would have thought maybe. But I still didn't know that it was a career path. And I've grown up, I've had a fantastic childhood, always been told to do what makes you happy, but you've got to work hard for it. And, my mum and dad's, um, they were diligent on us working hard at school. Didn't know what I wanted to do when I went to school or when I was picking my A levels even. Um, but I went to this tournament, and this tournament was it's like a divisional, so it was like a step up, and loads of the girls were really good players. And I was like, where do you play? Because I want to play in that team. And they just constantly said they went to Hartpury College. So I came away from that tournament thinking I've got to go to Hartpury College because I don't know if it's a career. And at this point, the game wasn't professionalized internationally. But I just knew I wanted to play for England. But that was when I was 16. I didn't have that before. Um, and then yeah, I went to Hartpury College, and then within that year had been contracted with the England senior side, and that was only really when I thought, wow, this could be my job. But like I said, in the first year, it wasn't professionalized. It was only in the second year, but I could have never imagined it to have got to the scale that it is now.
Mhm.
Um, and what I'm proud of is that young girls and young boys, and it doesn't have to be, one gender at all. I want to inspire as many people as I can do. They know that there's a route into something, and if plan A, B, and C don't work, there's still so many letters in the alphabet. Just keep going and you'll find it out, and it's okay not to know, but you might get disappointed at times, but you also get lots of amazing surprises on the way. Um, and yeah, I still am learning. I still don't know what's to come, but I love the beauty of the unknown because you don't have any expectations, so you can't really
Mhm.
get disappointed. You just got to give yourself grace to understand anything can happen. And that's a really cool place to be in.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I talk with so many founders, and for context, I oversee the 30 under 30 list at Forbes. So I talk with athletes, but I also talk with people who are building across many different industries. And so often these conversations happen where it's like, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into when I signed up for this, when I started this career path. And, oftentimes with founders too, they're like, and looking back, like, I don't know if I even would have started if I knew what I know now, because there has been so much, like, of course there have been great moments, but also like struggle and sacrifice that you've had to go through to get to the point where you're at in your career. And I was, in prepping for this interview, seeing that, you had to leave one of your proms early to get to a tournament the next morning, and just like so many of these things, leave home, move when you were 16 to go play for this team. What have those sacrifices been like in your experience? How have you kind of weighed like what is worth sacrificing in order to achieve what you have so far?
Yeah, I don't really see any of them as sacrifices. I
Mm-hmm.
see them as choices. And we all make choices every single day. What time you're gonna wake up, whether you're gonna have, I don't know, a burger for dinner or pasta for dinner. Everything is a choice. And the reason I don't see it as sacrifice is because I still choose to do it. It's not being forced upon me. It's something that I've done for the benefit of myself and my career. Um, but there've been lots of difficult choices in the same breath. So not going to prom, it's not really a hard choice. Obviously, I wanted to stay at prom, but the the magnitude of that is so small.
Yeah.
There's been, moving away from home was a really hard choice. And I don't think at the time I realized how big it was. Obviously, my parents did. Um, but for me, I was like, oh my word, I'm going to be going on like a sleepover and I'm going to be partying, I'm going to be playing rugby. Like, for me, I was in this ideal world. But as I've got older, I've really realized the importance of the closeness to family and how valuable the time is with each other as well, because it becomes so slim. Um, and probably one of my toughest decisions was I was part of the sevens. So England sevens was in the setup, and we'd just gone into GB sevens ahead of Tokyo, with obviously the hopes and dreams to play at the Olympics in Tokyo. And then when COVID came around and we all got made redundant, I was given a decision to make, which was we've got one contract at the England 15 side, which is the Red Roses I play for now. We've got one contract that is up for grabs should you want it, but if you take it, you can't do the Olympics.
Mm.
And I'd just been training the past 3 years to be part of the Olympics. But at the same time, I've always said I want to be the best player in the world. So to be the best player in the world, I've got to commit. I can't be working a bar job. I was looking at doing bar jobs, nannying, and then going to training and expect to be at my fullest potential. So I made that decision and turned down the opportunity to play at the Olympics for my career, for the opportunity to see where I can get to as a player. And I'm a strong believer that everything happens for a reason. And I think that's why I do say it's a choice as well, is that what's meant for you is going to come back to you. And, I had my time with the 15s, and the opportunity came across that I could be part of the Paris Olympics. And I did it, and I went to the
Mm-hmm.
Olympics. And, that it came back around, and I'd love to do another Olympics as well, but I'd love to still be able to play 15s and do everything that's involved in that side as well. So, yeah, that was a really tough decision because it really challenged me and my friendships in the team. It challenged, what my goal is. I can say I want to be the best player, but I really don't know what's going to happen. It's a completely new team. Um, but I trusted my instincts, and like I said, I just knew that everything will happen for a reason, and it'll happen at the right time. But you've got to trust your gut in that space, and
Mm-hmm.
it's worked out pretty well so far.
How has your relationship with the sport changed when you, first of all, went pro, and then when you started to kind of become a vet in the sport? How has that changed your relationship with like how you show up, your mindset, all those sorts of things?
If I'm honest, it hasn't. It hasn't changed my mindset at all. If you watch me play, I'm laughing, I'm joking. I don't take myself too seriously. On the outside, I might be taking myself seriously on the inside, but um, I will always be that person that first started playing rugby. And the moment I stop doing that and my behaviours change is the moment that I probably should retire, because the reason I do it is because I love it. And there's one thing inspiring people by the way that I play, but the biggest thing for me is I want to show everyone who watches me that I really love what I do, because that is so infectious and you can take it into your world. You know, you don't have to have a rugby ball in your hand. I'm not telling you to play rugby because it just might not be for you. But if you can find that passion for something that you love, then it'll take you wherever it needs to take you, and it'll and beyond actually. So, yeah, that's definitely stayed the same. I think in the past couple of years, definitely, there's obviously been this huge crowd influx and fan base, and I just find it crazy that people like hollering my name before matches, during matches, after matches, um, when I haven't even done anything yet. I just walk out of the changing rooms, and
But
that
you've done
for
a lot
me,
before that moment.
yeah,
You've
yeah,
led
no,
up to this.
I have, but also, yeah, I just I think it does surprise me, but also I've realised that what it means to these people to be able to be in contact with me, that could change a part of their life. And that's why I take so much time after games to make sure that I speak to everybody, I get photos, and I'm always myself in it. I would never want to be this media trained athlete. I hate them. Like, you might as well just get AI. We don't want AI to take over sports. So yeah, I always make sure that I speak to people, because the power of being understood, I think, has been the biggest change in my career. And how can I expect people to understand me as a person and not a player if I don't show them who Ellie is? And that takes being vulnerable at times, but then I know when people are hollering me and whatever it is, they're not just doing it because of the tries that I've scored or the poster that they've seen me on. They've done it because of the smile that I've got on my face, and they feel like they know me as a person. And that's the thing that really matters to me.
You mentioned there that being understood has been like a very important thing in sharing yourself. Has there been a moment, or especially earlier in your career, that you felt misunderstood or things that you wanted people to know that you felt like there was like a barrier up against?
Completely. You know, for a long time, I I probably didn't understand myself. I think that's where it started. I didn't really understand myself, and I think that's the root of things. So, you know, like kids do, you know, you try show off in front of a certain group to be liked by them, and yeah, I found like mix-ups with that type of thing because I become tired and I kind of lose my sense of self, and I think you think that you find friends, but you've just shown them a fake version. So the moment that you drop your guard, they'll be confused. Of course they will. Um, but definitely on the pitch as well. I was always told to be like a certain player, and
Mm.
you know they had an idea. My coaches had an idea of what a fullback, so my position, how they should play, and that wasn't me. Now I was always told, "Oh, we want you to be like this person," and I'd say, "Well, I'm not that person. I'm Ellie, but okay, if that's going to be what's going to get me selected, I'll do it." But I wasn't confident in it. I didn't feel confident in myself. I was always on that fear of failure because I was pursuing in the footsteps of someone that wasn't me. Um, and yeah, that left me with a lot of confusion, a lot of no confidence. I didn't have any confidence at all. So then when we got a new coaching group in, I stripped that all back, and I was just given the opportunity to be exactly who you are, and we'll work it out. And that has been the most powerful part of my career, definitely.
Speaking of being yourself and being open about who you are, now athletes are not just expected to like succeed on the pitch or the field or the court, but also build their personal brands, you know, kind of like we were talking about earlier, commercialize themselves, be out in front of audiences, in front of fans. How have you gone about building like Ellie Kildunne as a brand as you've grown in your career?
First of all, always be authentic. I think, you know, with the accolades that I've got, I understand people are gonna want me, you know, on the table with them or on the poster, people wanting to meet up with me and talk to me. But I've realized what I want to do and what messages I want to push and what brands feel right for me. And I've had, you know, I've been in rooms that I've thought, "Ah, it's not really me." But then I've also been in rooms that I've connected with people that I will learn so much from, both on and off the field. I can take values from anything. I want to learn from everybody that I speak to. And that might not be telling me how to kick a ball or make a tackle, but it's the values in business, in connections, in successful stories that I try find those comparisons between what I do and what they do, and hope that I can share that as well. So being authentic is definitely the most powerful thing, but also understanding that it's bigger than just me. And I kind of said it earlier that whenever I'm partnering with a brand, I always think about the creative aspect of it and how am I going to stay authentic in that space on my social media, for example. How would I authentically bring it into my life, and how can we actually drive this forward to make a bigger change? So it's not just, I'm not going to say tick box, but it's not just a short term peak. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that's long term, that you change a moment into a movement. And I love that the brands that I've worked with have given me that opportunity. And I've had conversations with Defender, who is one of my main sponsors, and we were talking about a tournament up in the north of England, because rugby in the north of England needs to grow. And first of all, it was a conversation around just the tournament being in my name and I just do an appearance. But then we got talking, and I said we need to bring it into schools, because if you do it just the tournament, the people that already play rugby will be there, but we need to make it bigger. And we'll be having conversations about how we bring this tournament into a schools tournament. So it actually makes that change, because the brands have power. I've just got the face. I've just got the name. So why can't we work together and find that middle ground to really make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
And I think my brand has only just started. Genuinely, I think that I don't think I realize what we could do with it. And that's exciting, because every day I'm thinking of new ways of thinking. I had a conversation with Asahi, which is another one of my main brands, the other day, and I did a panel talk in front of a lot of their employees. And the difference between the men's game and the women's game, like I mentioned earlier, it's two different products. Is the majority of the women's game's fan base is children and is families, whereas the men's game is probably that older generation.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously having an alcohol brand sponsor me, how does that grow the game in the children's space? And I've been thinking about that idea. How can we make that a family thing as opposed to something? Could it be education around it? Could it be the clubhouses that are connected to the sports fields, that being an environment that is safe for children and adults as well, and families? So it's a space that when you finish training, you finish your games, it's togetherness. Because alcohol, yes, people say it gets people drunk and they go partying, but it's also, for me, I see it as like a sign of family and friendships and pulling people together and love. So it's stripping values out of things and trying to
Mm-hmm.
mix them up and pull them together. And I love thinking about that. And I think that's become part of my brand as well, as being that creative who can give you a different perspective.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And you also have worked on, along with those kind of like community aspects, like you're talking about there, multiple like product lines. You have, your boots and your apparel. A Barbie was created in your likeness, which is, how many people can say that? Like, that is nuts.
It's
How have you gone
crazy.
about these other brand, like, how do you say yes to a brand partnership when something like this comes like through your inbox, or, do you get a phone call about it? How do you decide what to say yes to?
Well, I mean, Ben has been brilliant, and I've actually worked with Ben for years now. And I remember the first time we met, and the women's game wasn't very big. It was probably about 8, 9 years ago. The women's game wasn't big at all, and the commercial value of players was not big at all.
Mm-hmm.
No one had brand deals. Maybe like one or two had a brand deal, but that was it. So stepping into the female space for any agent would be daunting. You put time and you probably wouldn't get much back. But the conversation that I had with Ben was that I knew from a very early age, I'm gonna be the best. like things are gonna come, and I just having someone that trusted me on that, and he did, has obviously played out pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But when brand deals come through now, where a few years ago there won't be that many, and I've worked with Canterbury for quite a while now, and that was my first main sponsor. Um, the brands now know that they've got to go to Ben first. Ben will obviously filter a lot of things because at the end of the day, I'm not just a brand ambassador, I'm a rugby player. So I've got to focus on my rugby when I'm at rugby. Ben will probably filter through things, and we talk all the time. I actually talk to him more than I talk to my friends. So yeah, it's not really like a known process, but working with someone that knows me, knows my values, knows where I am and what direction I want to go in definitely helps make that decision easier. But I don't think anymore it's about the money. Like I don't think I think about the money as much. Obviously, you've got to have a life and you've got to prepare. The rugby career is very short, and it'd be very naive and stupid of me and a very media answer for me to say that people don't do the brand deals for money. I don't do the rugby for money, but the brand deals, obviously, there's a side of that. But where a few years ago it probably would have been whoever's offered the most, it's now who do I align with most?
Mm-hmm.
Who gives me the freedom to be creative, be myself? Am I gonna be a poster girl that just ticks the box, or am I gonna be given opportunities to mix with people alongside that and learn and grow and ensure that when I do finish my career, I've got a CV of skills that I've learned, people that I've met, rooms that I've been in. That's how I decide now. And also a brand that is willing to take the leap and trust
Mm-hmm.
me. And yeah, I know in the first conversation that I have with brands that they're stuck in their way, and I probably will just be that face and that product for them, compared to a brand that is willing to say, look, we're going to take a leap here, guide us. Let's
Mm-hmm.
do it together. And that's what's super important to me because money doesn't buy you happiness, and I don't ever want to see the deals that I do as work. I like to see them as opportunities. So yeah, it's not necessarily about the money, but it's more about the bigger picture. How can we change the game? How can we change the lives of anybody that we meet, anybody that
Mm-hmm.
could see this campaign? What message can we put across, and how much freedom have I got to make sure that it's something that I want to do, and that's that authenticity rather than just what you want to do and you want to use the curly hair to make people have a look in the first place.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with all that. And I know you've talked about it too, just like, and we mentioned it here a bit, but the financial realities too, like it isn't a conversation to be ignored either. Cause to your point earlier, like it's also allowed a lot of women to leave like a 9 to 5 job and be able to focus on the sport that they are, that tens of thousands of people are coming to watch. I'm curious too. I know you're a photographer. Would you ever like shoot a campaign for a brand? Is any of this in the works? Like how have you brought that sort of creativity into these partnerships that you're working on?
Yeah, you know what? I'd love to. And I don't have a clue what I'm doing with the camera. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just love getting pictures for people, and the reason that I do is that when I first bought my first camera and invested in one, I've grown up with my mum taking photos all the time and the importance of memories. But at the time, I knew that I was in a space that people were starting to listen to my story, people were starting to listen to my voice, and I just know that there's so many more stories out there that could inspire people, but they just haven't been given the opportunity to be seen. And, we are rugby players, number one, always number one, but at the time, our main way of marketing ourselves, marketing the sport, was on social media. It was on Instagram. But it's quite hard to take a picture of yourself when you've got a ball in your hand and someone's about to tackle you. So when I got injured, rather than sitting on the side feeling sorry for myself, I picked up a camera and I just wanted to capture for people parts of their story. Everyone will see us one day a week, but there's 6 other days that is opportunity to inspire. So yeah, I started taking photos of people and just learn on the way. Like kind of worked
Mm-hmm.
out what worked for me, and my style of photography, and doing something different. I think this is the thing, you do something different and everyone thinks like that's like you are a professional in that space. I got asked if I could do someone's wedding. I was like, sure, I
Like, I'll
guess.
come as a
I think,
guest.
yeah, sure, if you want me to do it. But I think that's the most important thing to me, and the most powerful thing is that don't be scared of stepping out the lines of what the norm is and doing something different, because there's always got to be the first. And I was the first that did that. And then everyone started getting cameras. And I was like, I should have a Fujifilm ambassadorship here because I'm
Yeah.
selling you loads of cameras. Um, but yeah, I love being able to have that creative side. And I think I figured that's my switch off. Where people switch off going to a coffee shop or going on the recovery pumps, whatever it may be, having my camera in my hand. And it's been less so the more busier I've got, because it used to be my tool to talk to people. You know
Mm-hmm.
how like when someone goes on a night out and they've always got a drink in the hand just because it's something to hold. For me, I was stepping into rooms for the first time where it wasn't just a rugby world, it was events and business and people that didn't know anything about rugby. So rather than that small talk and that awkward chat, which I hate, I just stand there taking photos of people, and people would come up to me and tap me on the shoulder saying, "Excuse me, can I have a photo as well?" Yeah, of course you can. Took a photo of them. They'd ask me, "How do we get the photos? Is it going to be on the website?" And then I'd realise, oh, they think that I'm the photographer of the event. So then when I got my Instagram up and they saw that I played rugby for England, they'd be like, "Oh my word. Like, what? I thought you were." So then we'd have this really authentic conversation, and we'd be able to work out how can we cross back over.
Mm-hmm.
We're in this room. We've both been invited into this room for a reason. What is that crossover? How can we do that? Um, so yeah, like I love that side of things, and I've got so many ideas. I just don't have the time to do them really, and I'd love to, have my own campaign. I did a few years ago. I had an idea about setting up a creative platform for women in sport, and basically giving women's rugby a new lens. We're not trying to follow in the footsteps of anybody, and we've got this opportunity to make it exactly how we want it to be. And I did a really cool shoot with Harlequins, which is my club team, which was I basically played on the fact that we were all wearing like the old men's shirts, like really baggy men's shirts with some like fashionable piece of clothing, and it was like playing on that. We don't want to be like that, but we'll make it cool. I wear the cooler version of that. Um, and I didn't manage to do many more because I obviously went into international season, but I see more people are doing it now. Like there's other little pages that I should have trademarked it really, but I don't really mind about that. If someone's going to take the idea and do it, we're all doing it for the same reason. It's not a
Yeah.
financial game. It's just spreading the words and making the game bigger than what it is already.
Yep, definitely. And you have so many projects going on and so many things you're working on. We could talk for hours, but for the sake of time, I just want to ask you one more kind of portion of your career. You have a book coming out as well. Can you tell me a little bit about why you decided to write a book, what the story is that you want to tell people? Give me some insight there.
Yeah, so I keep getting asked, "Are you only 26? How come you're doing an autobiography?" People do that at the end of their career. But honestly, that's just the second book that'll come out. Like there's so much. But for me, I'm fully aware that I'm learning in my space every day. I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna be learning, and with the rapid rise of women's rugby and women's sport, there's gonna have to be someone that breaks those boundaries in the first place. And to date, I mean, you reeled them off at the start. And that was only a few. There's been so much that has happened in my career, and I've kind of felt like I don't really have someone to turn to ask for that advice,
Mm.
but people turn to me. And I don't really know all the answers because I'm only 26. I'm only halfway through my career. So I was speaking to the publishers and I said, I don't really want it to be like an autobiography. I want it to feel like a self-help book. I want to tell my story and then hope that someone who's reading it will relate to them as stories, and they won't feel alone, and they'll see that, oh, that's how you could deal with it, or that's how Ellie's dealt with it, because people see me as, you know, the face of England rugby, or the one that scored that amazing try in the World Cup final, and they don't realise how many choices I've had to make, going back to the sacrifices, um, how I've had to deal with injuries, and um, because people remember the good things. Like, you get stuck on the bad things, but people remember the good things, and it's never plain sailing. No one gets to the
Mm-hmm.
top without a blimp. But like I said to you before, if it's not route A, B, or C, there's so many letters in the alphabet, and I want to share that with people to make me real. It goes back to what I said, why when I'm meeting the fans, I want to be that person. I don't want to be just a player, and I think it's important to share that. Now I've got a podcast so people get to hear me a little bit more, but to be understood, like, people have to know me. They have to know these stories, and it's been an amazing journey doing it, because it's given me the first chance I think ever to really reflect on my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been emotional at times, and I think, God, how did I get through that? How did I do that? Because at the time, it felt hard, but here I am now. And I just hope that, yeah, like, anyone can pick that up, read it, and feel like they've got a friend, and feel like they've got someone that they can turn to, um, and obviously hear my side of it, but be inspired to take it on their story as well. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping it comes across like that. In all honesty, I don't know, and all I've done is been honest in the book, and that's the main and most important thing. Um, but it's probably one of the first times that people will get to know me from a child,
Yeah.
which is exciting. It's a little bit scary, but it's also exciting. And yeah, I don't know if I am the first to make a book whilst playing as a female player, but that's also, it's quite scary in that as well, because I'm still playing. I've still got to then show up on the Sunday or the Saturday to play my game. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's what, under a month now that it's gonna be published. I've got a few. Look, this is. I don't know if I'm allowed. I probably am. I got given like my first, and I was like, "Oh, this is real now. This is really
Yeah.
real."
Yeah, when you have
Um,
something tangible, it totally puts things into perspective of like, okay, this
yeah, I
is
was like,
something,
"Oh,
this is, yeah, it's not just something in my mind or like in the ether floating around.
yeah, exactly that." But it's super cool, and I can't wait for people to read it.
Well, thank you so much, Ellie, for taking the time. I so appreciate you talking me through your whole career. The very last question I have for you is on the under 30 list, obviously there's a huge focus on youth and what you can do before the age of 30, which, that's a lot of pressure on some people, but it also, can give room for like goals and opportunities and things of that nature at a young age. But how do you think about youth in your own career? Is it something you think about?
Yeah, I still think that I'm 18 years old playing on. It still feels like that. I think that it's important to find out who you are as soon as possible, and
Mm-hmm.
understand yourself as soon as possible, because I don't want my career to ever end. And that's only because I love it so much. But I've ruined times in the past because I didn't understand myself. So I can't ever go back to those moments. So enjoy it whilst they're there. And I'm sure everyone will say that. But if you really understand who you are and what direction you want to go in, stay true to it, because that'll be the thing that'll carry you through.
Yep. Well, thank you so much. Like I said, really appreciate you taking the time, and I can't wait to see all else that you continue to do over the next, I don't know, probably like in the next 3 weeks. There's going to be a million more things, but thank you so much for joining me.
Amazing. Thank you very much.